right, ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurs and dreamers, get ready for the most exciting event in networking, the Bright Ideas Show. Please welcome to the stage, Pavithri Kilgore.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to tonight's Bright Ideas Show. I have enjoyed my time at all Inspire events because not only do I get to know other small business owners, I get to create a village around me that has been instrumental in my personal and professional growth. At the Bright Ideas Show, we get to have our own version of a TED Talk, but local, where we get to hear from speakers in our own backyard. We have 3, 6, and 9-minute speakers because we want to hear the heart of their story and their message. Later on, we'll be picking a random guest from the audience for an interview about your business. So get your elevator pitch ready. If you are interested, please make sure you got a ticket when you checked in. Otherwise, raise your hand so we can get one to you. Anybody? All right. Now, it is time to introduce our host, Ryan. He's the idea guy and co-founder of INSPIREsmall.biz. He and his wife, Carly, started this organization with the vision that everyone has a skill that could transform something they are passionate about into a thriving small business. He is also an active member of the Indianapolis East Rotary Club and governor-elect for Rotary Club District 6560 here in Central Indiana. But most importantly, he is a husband and dad to a beautiful little girl named Riley. Some would say I'm only friends with him for Riley. And that wouldn't be a joke. I have been part of Ryan's leadership group for 2 years now. I think, right? 2 years, Ryan? Yeah, I think so. And his dedication to those that are part of his organization has absolutely won my loyalty in a heartbeat. He is a no-nonsense guy who speaks his mind and makes sure that he is doing right by all that he crosses paths with. So, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Ryan Henry.
Awesome. Thank you, Pavithri. Well, everyone, good evening and welcome to the Bright Ideas Show. This event is one of many events that we host at INSPIREsmall.biz. And this event is different from our daytime networking events. Our daytime networking events are give us your elevator pitch, tell us who you want to meet, all the other fun and relevant stuff about your business. But we wanted to find something that goes deeper than just those elevator pitches that we hear every day. So the Bright Ideas Show's goal is to get to know all of the stories that each of us have, because everyone sitting in this room here tonight has had some kind of life experience that you could share in a story that would inspire other people. And that's important because when we know those stories about who people are and where they've come from and the experiences they've had, it accelerates trust, which makes it much better to do business with people that we know and we see the place that they've come from and where they're going in life. It's just so much more fun to do business with those people than the folks that we just exchange business cards with every day. But our mission at INSPIREsmall.biz is, with everything we do, this event, our daytime events, is to create a welcoming environment, because we are all different in some way, shape, or form. And it is our goal to make sure that when you walk in the door at our events, you feel like a welcome and respected part of the group. So I want to share something that no business owner likes to have to share. But from time to time when we're adults, we have to cover things that aren't so much fun. I very seldom talk about something we have called an anti-harassment policy. And that's basically, the shortest way I can put it is, we are all here from different places in life, but we're going to respect each other. So I'd like to ask everyone who attends, not just this event, but any event that we have, if you ever have an experience that you feel like you were not respected or treated with dignity, please bring it to my attention, because our goal is to always make sure that you are comfortable and feel welcome and wanted at our events. So let's get back to fun stuff. Our theme for tonight is identity. So we're going to hear 3 incredible speakers that have a story about what identity means to them. And before we get to them, I want to recognize our leaders this evening. So could all of you stand up for just a quick moment, our table leaders, so we can recognize you. All 3 of you guys at the production table here, stand up. Let's give them a hand because they helped make this event possible. I promise you, without all of their help, this event would be a mess. It takes a lot of good, talented people to make something happen, and I'm very thankful to each of them for coming to help make sure that this event is successful for all of you. Let's also give a hand to the Northside Events and Social Club. They host us here each month. They have some real good food, so let's give them a big hand.
So next up, to introduce our 3-minute speaker. Scott is a thrill seeker, world traveler, and a family man. He enjoys new challenges, working with teams and creative solutions. He enjoys new challenges, working with teams and creative solutions. Oops, I said that once already. Sorry. Did I mention this is my first time doing this part? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Scott Satterfield.
Hello, thank you. Thanks for having me at this event. Very good to be here. And the word for tonight is inspire. So I was going to say a quick 3 minutes on something about inspire in your, I'm sorry, not inspire, that's the event, the group. We're talking about identity tonight. So the identity, one thing I want to share with you is there's a lot of things that happen with entrepreneurs. They get confused with their identity and their role. Okay, and those can be very, and the older we get, I think sometimes they can become more meshed, right? So the identity is, it's the combination of how you view yourself, and it's based on your past experiences, your beliefs. It's based on, memories that you've had, and a lot of times it comes from things that have happened in your past that develop your current identity, where your role is kind of the assumption of the duties that you have. Right? It's the role that you perform in your life or in your family or in your community. So we can often get confused between our role and our identity. That's the I versus the R, because your role is not your identity, right? And your identity can flex and flow based on the things that the past experience that you've had. So your role can the role can spark problems with your identity because it comes from a lot of the experiences and stuff and memories that you have of that critical parent, right? Or that critical person that was in an authoritative position over you. And so the role, if you have a bad day, can spark head trash. And then you get that little voice talking in the back of your head. And then that can lead to, worse performance in your role, but then a hurt of your identity. And they're completely separate things. And it's important to remember that. And I had a good memory of that back when my kids are teenagers now, but back when they were toddlers. Right? I was working for GE and I was really behind, at 20% of my quota, and the pressure was on. I was having a series of bad days. But when I would come home, my 3-year-old didn't care. My 5-year-old didn't care. They didn't care what role I was playing and whether I was successful or unsuccessful in that role. They knew my identity, and all they had for me was love because of that. And so if you can be mindful of that, especially as entrepreneurs, that how you perform is not tied to who you are. And that when that little voice starts in your head, just tell that voice that I know my identity, I'm an I-10 today, and love yourself the way a 3-year-old would love you, because they don't know any difference. So if that's one thing I can leave with you today, that would be the thing, is remember that you were born into this world perfect. You didn't have the head trash as a little baby, and you will not have it moving forward. Because that's not who you are. That's not your identity. That's just the role you had today. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Okay, next up is our 6-minute speaker this evening. And she is a self-declared geek at heart. Her husband, Spencer, calls her a Supreme Court junkie. Pavithri Kilgore has a passion for reading the endless mountains of paper that describe the laws and regulations that affect every business. She did her undergraduate studies at the University of Maryland and her master's in jurisprudence. I think I pronounced that right. Yesterday was my first time seeing that word where I had to read it. Her jurisprudence in labor and employment law at Tulane Law School. After 20 years in the corporate world, Pavithri started her own fractional HR company where she brings her years of experience to the businesses who don't have access to an individual like her who loves staying on top of those endless laws that affect their business. Her life revolves around her family, specifically her husband Spencer, whom she's been married to for 15 years this August. That's quite an accomplishment. Her favorite pastime when she's not reading different state laws and court cases is to annoy Spencer and debate any subject that he'll indulge her in. So, ladies and gentlemen, give a big hand to our 6-minute speaker this evening, Pavithri Kilgore.
Now you know why he didn't get a preview as to what I was saying today. Good afternoon. So, I'm not going to talk about business today. With this month's theme being identity, I wanted to talk about a topic I have been passionate about as an immigrant, an advocate, and as an HR professional. Has anyone here heard of the phrase third culture kids, also known as TCKs? Couple, okay. A third culture kid is someone who has spent a significant amount of their development years outside of their parents' culture. As a result, they form a distinct third culture that encompasses elements of their parents' home culture and the culture they have lived in or currently living in. Third culture kids often possess remarkable advantages. Their exposure to multiple cultures make them highly adaptable. They are typically multilingual and have cross-cultural understanding. They can be bridge builders, can easily relate to diverse teams, appreciate varying viewpoints, and find common ground where others see differences. The concept of a third culture kid can transcend generations. Newly migrated adults can have similar struggles in assimilating to work environments as the children would at school. Adults can feel just as much ostracized and isolated in society and work as children would. While there are many benefits to being a third culture kid, there are also very real challenges. The very diversity that enriches them can also lead to feelings of rootlessness and identity confusion. They struggle to answer a question as simple as, where is your home? Or what's your name? While I have spoken on this topic at different organizations in various capacities, it has always been around inclusivity and how it is not just a buzzword in diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace, but a feeling of belonging, being acknowledged for their knowledge and expertise, and not simply being labeled as someone different or that person with a weird accent. Today, however, I want to focus on kids, part of the third culture kids. The name. The root of everyone's identity can be the most stressful thing for a third culture kid. Now, you may have noticed I don't exactly have a common, easy to pronounce name. And I can't count the ways in which my name has been changed, mispronounced, and manipulated without my consent, mind you, just to make it easier for the person talking to me. Now, anyone that has known me for more than 5 minutes should find it no surprise that even as a kid, I had no problem speaking my mind or standing up for myself. Shocker, I know. I wish I could tell you that experiences like mine are the exception. Unfortunately, we see this happen more often than I care to count. Most often, we see this in schools, where teachers tend to give students a nickname, or in worst case situation, a whole new name, because it is too hard for the adult to pronounce their name. I've actually heard an adult say in school to a kid, "That's too hard to say. I'm just going to call you," and make up a name. I have watched the kid's face visibly drop. I have watched adults condoning by silence when other kids are making fun of somebody's name, food, accents, you name it. I've heard some tell kids they are not enough of insert whatever ethnicity to be referred to as that ethnicity. Just a quick story I faced as an adult. Somebody from South Asia actually looked at me once and said, "You're too white to be Sri Lankan." Me being the smart aleck that I am, I responded with, "I guess that makes you too dumb to be human." As a child though, can you imagine the psychological damage this does? The feeling of inferiority, inadequacy, and feelings of not belonging that a child has to deal with simply because of a choice their parents made to migrate to a country outside of their own culture. Dale Carnegie, author of How to Win Friends and Influence People, once said, "A person's name is to that person the sweetest and most important in any language." What he was trying to convey was that importance of remembering a person's name and using it to show that you value them, make them feel noticed, show you care about them, and most importantly, it reinforces that you see them for who they are and their sense of identity. In conclusion, a person's name is not just who they are and their essence, but it is their entire being and their identity. Regardless of age, the simplest form of respect and understanding you can show another human being is to use their name in its entirety properly, regardless of your personal feelings. So I ask all of you to help make a difference in a kid's life. Talk to your children about who they encounter in their class or clubs or any setting, to be honest. Talk to them about different cultures and the importance of understanding those differences and why it's important to them. Kids are our future, and how we treat them today will define who they become tomorrow.
Pavithri, that was an excellent presentation. Thank you. Okay, while he's getting his scrubs on over here, preparing for surgery, it is time to welcome John Cannon with My Car Doc for the My Car Doc Care Tip. Give John a hand.
So is it hot enough for you guys yet? Are you tired of hearing that yet? It's only June, folks. Hey, can somebody hit the thing? Thank you. Love you too. So everybody in Indiana, I know you've all heard it, hey, if you don't like the weather, stick around 5 minutes, it's gonna change. Question is, when? It's June. It's gonna be hot all the way through September. It is not changing. The number one complaint that we mechanics get during this time of year, of course, is air conditioning. And why is air conditioning so expensive? Why isn't it, and the number two thing we get is, why is my air conditioning not cooling down enough? Go ahead. So it all started with R12. So the head of GM back in 1928, and I know when you think about air conditioning, you don't really think about 1928 as air conditioning, but they were actually putting air conditioning in cars back then. But he required his team to come up with a safe refrigerant that could be used in vehicles because the refrigerant that they were using had the really unfortunate side effect of exploding whenever they had car accidents. A little bit of a bummer on your summer afternoon. So they came up with R12. Now, R12 is a safe, non-toxic, non-flammable refrigerant. It was great. They used it in home AC units. They used it in trains, water fountains. You remember how whenever we were kids, the water out of a water fountain was so cold? R12, same thing. They even used it in asthma inhalers. They did this for about 60 years. The stuff was safe and it was great. DuPont owned the patent for the most popular R12 for about 30 years, and they could charge whatever they wanted for it. They were the sole proprietor. They had it. So if you wanted it, you had to get it from them. So if R12 was so good, why did we switch? We switched to a thing called R134A. Well, remember that hole back in the ozone layer that was going to fry all of us back in '93? There you go. So there's a little bit of a conspiracy theory on this because we happened to discover that hole, and we happened to discover that R12 was contributing to that right about the same time that DuPont was losing their copyright on R12. So guess who came up with a new copyright on a new refrigerant? R134A, and DuPont held that. So when the government banned R12, DuPont had been making billions on R12 for about 50 years. They came up with the latest and greatest new thing, R134A. Now, the R134A wasn't going to kill our atmosphere like it had been. It wasn't quite as good as the other stuff. But DuPont then told Congress about this, about, hey, we have the greatest, latest. And so Congress said, all right, let's put that in cars then. They probably greased a few palms. Let's face it, that's how government works. And so they decided the R134 was better for the environment, and all new cars from 1995 on had to have R134A and not R12. The two were not compatible, couldn't use it. So if R12 was so good, we switched to R134A. Then for the next 30 years, DuPont made more billions off the sale of R134A because guess what? They can charge whatever they want for it. So then we used R134A all the way up until modern cars until the last couple of years. And then if R134A is so good and it's not frying the ozone layer, why did we switch to the new stuff, 1234YF? This is a new refrigerant. It has a carbon footprint of 4, and R134A has a carbon footprint of 1,430 kilograms of carbon dioxide equivalent per kilogram. In other words, nobody knows what the hell they're talking about. However, it's supposed to be better for the environment, so familiar story, out with the old, in with the new. So here's an insider trading tip. If you want to make a bunch of money, invest in Kilgore and Honeywell. These are the two companies that now hold the patent for 1234YF, and all of these new cars made after 2021 require R1234YF. We are no longer using 134A. So why did we switch now? Well, it's kind of like Donnie Baker used to say, it's state law, man. Only now it's federal. A few Bob and Tom fans out there. So why is AC so expensive? Well, the bottom line is because it can be. It's a luxury item that almost everyone is willing to pay for. The cost of R134A has tripled in the past 3 years due to supply and demand issues. Since they're not making cars that use R134A anymore, the R134A that they have is getting to be a very limited supply. What I used to pay for it has tripled. My cost on the service has not gone up. My cost on the supplies have gone up. So it's all about supply and demand. Now, companies know that manufacturers are using less R134A, so they're going to get their money while they can, and they're manipulating the market to gouge you. They are artificially manipulating the market to gouge you. It all comes down to corporate greed. I didn't do this for you. I was on it. All right. So 1234YF is so much better for the environment. So it's got to be cheaper, right? Well, when is the shiny new toy ever cheaper than the old one? The cost of the similar amount of 1234YF is about $200 more than the new exaggerated cost of R134A. So what I'm paying for it with the tripled what I used to pay for it, 1234YF is even more expensive. It's so expensive because it's new, it's shiny, and all the cool kids, come on, nothing? All right, all the cool kids have it. The new 1234YF refrigerant is in demand from all of the manufacturers. So every car out there in the parking lot, every manufacturer from 2021 on, are now legally required to carry 1234YF So Chemours on Honeywell can charge pretty much what they want for it, just like DuPont did with R12 and R134A for about 60 years. And I now have a list of 9 things that you can do to help your vehicle's AC run better and last longer. And those are on the tables out there for everybody. So why did we do 9? Because everybody has a top 10 list, right? And everybody in here knows that the 10th tip is to come to my car doc. So anyway, so your AC, all those tips are on the back of there. I'm not going to go through them and read them all to you, but they're on there, and that's why I passed all that out for everybody. And then also I know that I used a lot of technical numbers with the R12 and 134A and 1234YF, which for me, this is just every day. It's part of what I do. But for you guys, it can be confusing. I understand. So that's also why your tips are on one side and a copy of the speech is on the other. So thanks a lot.
All right. Here you are. John, good job. And yeah, boy, did you pick the right time of year. It is hot out there. Yeah. All right. So now it's time to pick a guest randomly out of the audience and do an interview right here, right now. So Pavithri has the box of tickets. Everyone, when they arrive, they got a little orange ticket to hold on to, right? Everyone got their little orange ticket? If you don't have one, raise your hand. Okay, and you're our 9-minute speaker, so no, we... All right, well, Pavithri, let's pick one out and let's read the number. Who do you got?
563471.
All right. Let's give Mark a hand. Mark, come on up here. So we know each other pretty well, but for the purpose of this, we're going to act like we've never met each other before. You think
we can do this?
Okay. Yeah. So, guy I just met, never talked to before this. What's your name?
My name is Mark Light.
Okay. Mark, and what do you do?
I actually have 3 businesses. One is, I'll call it my day job for now, is a commercial loan broker. Mainly network with commercial bankers. I take the loans that they're either trying to get off their books or they can't do. Then also, do I need to explain how Life Forward still? Or did the video kind of set the stage?
I think you did a pretty good job.
Yeah, there was a video there.
Yeah.
And then the third as a means, well, no, not as a means for Life Forward, but I am in the beginning stages of setting up a public speaking business.
Nice. So let's talk about your first job as commercial capital. So what is the difference between what you do and what banks do? Because you mentioned that you network with business bankers, but to someone who doesn't know the industry, they might think they're the same thing. So what's the difference between them?
Yeah, there's really not much difference when it comes to loans. I mean, they're closing commercial loans, we're closing commercial loans. The big difference is we're there to enhance their relationship with their clients. What happens a lot of times, the reason why mainly I network with commercial bankers is because what I found out is they do with loans that they can't get closed for whatever reason, they refer them oftentimes to other commercial bankers. Mm-hmm. But when they do that, the entire relationship, the entire banking relationship is at risk to leave. I'm not here to try to take anything other than the commercial loans off their hands. One of the things about banking is they are a very heavily regulated industry.
Yes, they are.
So there's a lot of loans. You know, one of the more common things I hear is commercial bankers are oftentimes as frustrated as their clients are when they have a good borrower, a very viable business, but they can't, for whatever reason, oftentimes due to regulation or because the bank is top heavy in that industry or whatever, they're oftentimes as frustrated as their customers when they can't close a loan with a viable borrower.
That's fair. So Mark, let's talk about your newest business you're starting now, about public speaking. Go back to the beginning. Where did your interest in talking to groups of people begin?
Oh gosh, that's probably always been there in my case. I had always I shouldn't say always. I was very, very shy when I was young. But for the last several years, I've been very interested. There's something, what I would say, almost intoxicating about getting in front of a group of people when the things that you're saying, you can tell that it's providing value to the people who are hearing the words you're saying. Mm-hmm. That's where the love for public speaking kind of was born. For the last several years, I've had people who have been in that space, have been either past or current public speakers, tell me, look, you have a great story and you have the chops to deliver it fairly effectively. I just had no idea how you went about. To me, saying I wanted to be a public speaker was like saying I want to go out to Hollywood and be a movie actor. It's like, get over yourself. It's kind of starting to come to life a little bit now that I have discovered the track to run on to build that business.
Nice. And so, Mark, you're not a lifelong Hoosier. You used to live in another state. You care to share with everyone where you moved from?
Out of 58 years, I've lived here for, call it 53 of them, 52, something like that. But I spent, up until 2 years ago, just less than 2 years ago, I spent 6 years. John? The great state of Texas, down in San Antonio.
Nice.
Miss it badly down there.
And so this heat makes you feel at home.
I love it. Yes, I love it.
So Mark, let's talk about how can people get a hold of you if they want to continue a conversation, if they need help with capital, if they want to learn how to be a public speaker, if they want to know more about the Life Forward project. Give us all the ways to get a hold of you.
Yeah, I'm fairly easy to find. I think that short of having a business card, which a lot of people in this room have my contact information, short of that, look me up on LinkedIn, Facebook. Those are my two main socials. I don't have a website yet other than ASI Commercial Capital, or I'm sorry, it's asiloan.com. That's the website for the commercial loan brokering. I don't have websites for the other two businesses yet set up, or I should say we don't with Life Forward. Email address, mark@asiloan.com. I'm easy to find. That's the short answer.
So you heard it here first. Find Mark Light by email, by LinkedIn, social media. So Mark,
Carrier pigeon, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, there we go. Carrier pigeon. If that's Telegram, if you could still find a place
Perfect.
that has
It'll work.
So what advice would you give to someone today who might be watching this video and is interested in starting a business but hasn't yet?
Do it. Don't be afraid.
All right.
I think the biggest mistake I've made and I've seen other people make with businesses is they want to make it perfect out of the gate. Be willing, have the courage to screw everything up.
Fair enough.
That's where you're going to learn how to be a good business person.
Nice. Mark, thank you very much for our interview this evening. Make sure to watch for it on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube.
Yes.
So, excellent.
Thank you,
Mark,
Brian.
thank you very much. All right. So, once again, let's give a big hand to our leaders this evening. Ray Mills, RM Media, Pavithri Kilgore, KPSK Consulting, John Cannon, Mike Hardock, way in the back, Jamie Hopper with Money Concepts. Another big hand for the Northside Events and Social Club. Did everyone enjoy their dinner this evening? Awesome. So, let's go ahead and get to our 9-minute speaker this evening. So Ann and I just met in person for the first time this evening. We met on Zoom previously and were connected by a mutual person that we know, Amanda Gleason with People First HR. And I said, Amanda, I'm looking for speakers. And she said, oh boy, I can help you. So she got Ann and I in touch with each other. We had an excellent conversation on Zoom, and I'm looking forward to hearing her presentation this evening. Ann Payton knows how to overcome and heal from trauma and adversity. As a speaker, a radio host, 2-time best-selling author, Ann's contagious presence engages her audience and invites them to explore how to defeat adversity and trauma with a 5-step Adversity University program. So everyone, please give a huge hand to our 9-minute speaker this evening, Ann Payton.
Thank you very much, Ryan. Thank you all for having me here today. I'm excited to speak with you. I know that we've all been sitting on our tushes now for about an hour, so everyone stand up a second. Everyone's like, aw. All right, raise your hands up, take a deep breath. There you go. See, that one's so bad. Okay, keep stretching if you'd like. All right, you can sit down. Okay, so I got a couple questions for you, and you can just yell them out. What is your work title? Owner. Anybody else? Owner. CEO. Say that again. Design-centered gist. I like that. Very good. Okay, so is our title part of our identity? No, not really. Okay, what about what you do all day long? What do? You can go ahead and shout it out. I love that. Administrative chaos. That could be at work or at home or anywhere, correct? Okay. And so is what we do every day part of our identity? Maybe. Could be. Exactly. Exactly. Okay, let's say at one point in your life you were a bully or a victim, or you have a list long of all the mistakes that you did during your life. Is that part of your identity? It could be. Exactly. It could be. So I want to tell you that your identity is something within you. You don't find your identity with what other people think of you, because quite frankly, you know you best. Exactly? Yes. Okay, so how do you find out more about your identity? It's a sense of self. And when I talk to women that have experienced trauma or adversity, one of the first things that I tell them to do is have an appointment with themselves. Just them and themselves. That's it. And you're probably thinking, okay, so I'm going to sit in a chair and twiddle my thumbs and just sit there. No. It's an appointment to take time to reflect. You could be reflecting on what's happened in your life. You could be reflecting about family members. It also could be, if you love nature, to go out for a walk. And when you're out walking around, or you're at the beach and you're watching the waves, what do you think about? Okay? That is how you start to get to know yourself and your sense of self. And once you start that, you're going to start enjoying it. I now used to be such a people person. Now I really like my time alone. And that's usually when I get a chance to learn something new about myself. Because we are a work in progress, obviously. So we learn things and do new things all the time. Okay, so that's the number one thing that I tell these women. The second number thing I tell them is to define your values. Because a lot of women that have gone through trauma or adversity, they don't want to think about it. They want to bury it. They want to move on, pretend it never happened. They don't want to take the time to get to know themselves and figure out what to do next. But after you figure out a little bit about yourself, after you have these several appointments with you and you, you can start figuring out where your values are. And it could be just as simple as even asking yourself questions on what you value. One of the things that I talk to these women about is making choices. So are you making choices for others or for yourself? A lot of time, if we feel unworthy or we don't want to bring up pain and everything, we want to bury it, and we just want to get love and attention from whomever we can get it from. So we do whatever we have to do to please that person to get that love and attention. But of course, that love and attention is not really real. So one of the things that we all need to reflect on is choices. Are we making our choices based on what other people think or based on what they might do for us? Or are we making some of those hard choices for ourselves based on what honors you? Now, you know what honors you because you've just taken the time to get to know yourself, and you also have listed and defined what your values are. Now, where does this come in with just everyday life or maybe in a work experience? I was on a conference, and a group of the people were going to go out, and they were going to go to this concert. So I'm just saying, okay, yeah, I'll just go, whatever. I'm like, well, who's the musician? Where is it going to be? Are we going to get to eat? Is there going to be a different crowd there? And so what I was trying to do is ask the right questions so I could make the right choice that honors me. I did find out at that concert there might be some groups of people that might be disruptive or practice with unhealthy bad behaviors. And so I really wanted to go and be with the crowd, but I said for myself, no, I will not be going. I did what was best for me to honor myself. Sometimes that's very hard, but the more times that you practice it, the easier it gets. Now, one of the things that I want to make sure that you know about is all of us have had struggles. All of us have had major mistakes in our lives. We've been down in the depths. But that list of mistakes has nothing to do with who you are. Your list of mistakes aren't you. The mistakes are just something that you did that didn't quite turn out, maybe turned into something bad. We all know, right? But what I want you to know is who you are. You are a masterpiece. There's no one else on this earth that's like you. That's one of the reasons why you should take the time to get to know yourself better and define your values and make good choices that honor you. You are also a masterpiece in progress. We learn from our struggles. We learn from our experiences. So, if you only learn one thing from today, this is what I would love for you all to do. Whether you want to sit out in a rocking chair, go for a walk, listen to the birds, I want you to make an appointment with yourself within the next 7 days, even if it's only for 15 or 20 minutes. And I want you to reflect back on something. Maybe it's something that happened recently. Maybe it is family. Maybe it is a higher being that you think about and want to be a part of. So I encourage you all to make that appointment in the next 7 days. And I'm going to have Ryan check in with all of you to make sure you've done it, okay? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Great job. So Anne has copies of her books available this evening, correct? So if you enjoyed Anne's presentation, make sure to catch up with her before you leave tonight and get a copy of one of her books that's available. Let's give all three of our speakers a big hand again this evening. Didn't they do a great job? I'd like to invite you to join us again here next month on July 17th. Our theme for the month will be balance. So we're going to have 3 incredible speakers that come and share what balance means to them. And I think it's important to mention something else before we wrap up this evening. There are many entrepreneurs out there who have young children that they are caring for. And I would like to encourage each of you, if it comes down to a decision of attend an event or stay with your children, bring your children with you. There is nothing that is happening at these events that your children can't see. We're not doing anything here that's a secret that your children shouldn't know, but I'll give you one really good reason why you should. And that's because when your kids know what mom, dad, or their loved ones are doing, then they can appreciate it a lot more, the hard work that each of us are putting into our careers every day. So just to put it out there, if you have children and it's a choice between coming to the event or not, bring them with you. They're always welcome at our events. And there are so many entrepreneurs who have young ones that you shouldn't exclude them. Make them a part of this event. Some other events to share with you. Friday morning this week, June 21st. Boy, that's hard to think about. We're near the end of June already. We have the next business spotlight in Greenwood at 8 o'clock in the morning at the Greenwood Community Center. Then we take a nice couple of weeks off because it's the end of June, and then we have the July 4th holiday, so we're skipping all the way to Friday, July 12th for the next business spotlight in Castleton at the Buca di Beppo. And if you haven't heard of Business Spotlight before, let me share with you. It's this really cool event that everyone who shows up gets the microphone for 45 seconds. And for that time, you can tell the whole room about who you are, what your business is, who you need to meet to keep the lights on. And if you register in advance, your contact info goes in a paper booklet that everyone gets when they arrive, which I'll tell you, as busy as that event gets sometimes, comes in real handy, because when you hear someone you're interested in learning more about, you don't have to run and push and shove your way through a crowd to get a business card from them. You've already got their contact info right there in your hands. As I mentioned a moment ago, our next Bright Ideas show is July 17th, which is a Wednesday. And I'm excited to announce here this evening, we are launching a brand new event at the end of July called Connections and Conversation that will meet at the Total CBD store at Pendleton Pike and Sunnyside Road from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. That event is done as an open house style. Show up as early as you can, stay as long as it's fun, and then everything wraps up so you can get to your Friday the next day. So that's all we've got here for this evening's Bright Ideas show. Don't leave this event without setting a follow-up appointment with somebody that you have met today. Networking events of any kind are not effective unless we are following up with people. So thank you very much for coming to our event this evening. I hope you have a wonderful evening and a great weekend. And if your car was hot as hell on the way over here, make sure you give the coolest guy in auto care a call, John Cannon at My Car Doc. So everyone, have a fantastic evening.